and we are about to start this webinar about expand and transform. So before we start, I would like everyone to write in the chat, where are you joining from? City and country, because I know we have a lot of countries well, quite a few countries in the audience. So let's just meet each other a little bit. Get to know each other. Dallas, Texas. Yeah. Muy bien, Ángel. Welcome. San Jose, Costa Rica, Montreal, Quebec, Puerto Rico, Heredia. I'm in Heredia too. San Jose, Heredia. Ah, Guatemala. Wonderful. Chicago, ex-capital of Costa Rica. Nice. We have quite a bit of people from San Jose, Heredia, Cartago, La Juela, Guatemala, Puerto Rico, Canada, Magdalena. All right, wonderful. We have a very diverse number. We have more than 80 people registered, so I'm pretty sure they'll be joining as we go as we start and go through the program. So as they join in, we'll be introducing them and participating with them. All right, so let's get started. Let's share again in the chat. We'll be using the chat quite a bit. If you don't know where the chat is, I should have started there. If you don't know where the chat is, there's probably a bar or a menu, either down or up. And the fifth button from left to right should say chat. If you click there, it'll open up a chat. And then you can just type there. And so right in the chat, what is one great thing that happened, that already happened in 2022? We're 18 days into the year. So what's one great thing that already happened? Whatever it is, like, yeah, the most amazing breakfast of the year, or I don't know, you got a new job, or whatever it is. Just write anything that's great that happened, that has already happened in 2022. Two great meetings to explore new ventures. Wonderful. Scuba diving license. Oh, that's one of the most amazing things we can ever do, scuba dive. I had my license for about 20 years. I love scuba diving. Ah, nice. Erika, new job opportunity. Good luck. Natalia, no COVID still. Nice. Dodging bullets. What else? What else has happened? Tell you, I just got my great thing for this year. Is I just got a great opportunity from one of my clients. He's expanding. He wants to expand the services that I'm providing him to his whole team. That's really exciting. First face-to-face meeting. Wow. Yeah. Alina says, sharing time with my loved ones. Wonderful. Yeah. What else? What else can we share about what has already happened in 2022? The webinar. Oof, yeah. Veronica is part of the team. We've been working on the webinar for a couple months. And yeah, just seeing it happen is also amazing. Alina says, increasing the exercise and healthier eating. Wonderful. Magdalena, meeting new interesting people. Yeah, that's always wonderful. New work endeavors, Manfred. All right, sounds great. So this one's more interesting. Denise, hi, nice to see you again. Greatest thing in this year, daily walking early in the morning. Brenda, lots of beautiful fluffy white snow falling gently like fairies. That's great. Yeah, you sure get snow in Montreal. All right. So, Carla, yes, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Just want to say hi. I just logged in late.
Oh, nice to see you here. Welcome. We're just starting, so we're starting sharing some things where you're joining from, city and country. One great thing that already happened this year, and now we're sharing what's one great thing that you want to see happen in 2022. Now, this is really important. It's setting the mindset for the program, for the webinar. So I want to see what's one great thing that you want to see happen in 2022. For me, one great thing that I want to see happen is just expanding my business, which already started today. So that was really powerful. But I'm expanding my business internationally, and I'm expanding the business in the amount of people that I can reach. And that's just really, really powerful. So what is one thing that you want to see happen in 2022? If anyone wants to just speak it out, just raise your hand and we'll put you on the stage. Eat more and more in a purposeful way. Yes. Finding my purpose and going deep into it. Wonderful, Natalia. Finding purpose. We'll talk a little bit about that. No, not a little bit. We'll talk quite a bit about that because I'm all about purpose. But I like to say choosing purpose instead of finding. Personal business. Expanding your personal business, Sylvia, or starting one. Professional growth. Love to see how my full potential expands. Yes, Denise. That's great. Dinah from Calgary, Canada. Hello, Dinah. Great, it's great that you can join us all the way from Alberta. Carla, stay focused on personal growth. Sylvia, starting your personal business. Wonderful. Share my purpose. Meet with my staff and older adults once again in person in the community setting and provide support needed that has been absent for over 2 years. Yes, so important. So important. Human contact is so important. See, I have I'm divided between loving to be face to face, but also having this opportunity to have people from Canada, from the US, from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Puerto Rico joining in. So it's like, I love the face to face, but wow, working online just provides so many and beautiful opportunities. Daniela, new job opportunity, wonderful. Full personal power. Wonderful, Magdalena. Professional growing and personal life balance, expanding my knowledge, getting in touch with the mindfulness purpose. Great. I like to stand in my gifts and skills and offer the community and create income this way. Yes to that, Dinah. All right. So I'm going to introduce the team, and in a little bit, I'm going to introduce myself. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. But here's the team. So I'm going to do this. Everyone who's part of the team, you will find says team before their name. There's right now we have 3 of them, and I'm going to spotlight Veronica. This is Veronica. Veronica has 13 years of experience in petrochemical industry, sales, logistics, and leadership. Her dream is that every single person can enjoy life to the fullest. So 3 years ago, she decided to study mindfulness and happiness along with the SER model. So yeah, Veronica and I have been working for almost a year together, and she's an amazing human being, and it's really good to have her here. Right. So I'm gonna
Hi,
go.
everyone. Such a great opportunity to be here, and I'm very excited. Thanks, everyone that joined us, and hopefully, we'll have a lot of information from Rodolfo and everything that he will share. We will enjoy.
Yeah, thank you for that, Veronica, and thank you for being here. This is Emily. Emily is a designer with purpose and yoga instructor. Her purpose is to continue impacting and influencing those who want to follow a life of consciousness through self-transformation, and as a result, create a new and expanding world of possibilities and well-being. And Emily and I have been friends for quite a few years, and we've been through joint journey for a deep joint journey for also quite a few years. So, and she's also an amazing human being. And I'm very honored that she's decided to join the team. So thank you for being here, Emily.
Thank you, Rodolfo. Very happy to meet everyone and very happy to see that everybody's here in this webinar. Like Veronica said, we're very, very excited to share all this information and well-being with you. And I'm saying hi from Mexico City. I'm not in Costa Rica. I'm joining the team from Mexico. So very happy to meet you all.
Yeah, thank you for that, Emily. All right, and we also have Angelica. Angelica has more than a decade of experience in travel and hospitality industry. Her service is rooted to her heart. Reason why, more than 3 years ago, she began a transformational journey guided by the SER model, which led her to redefine her life's purpose to be an instrument to create well-being at the service of others. And yeah, Angelica and I also have quite a history together. She she was working in the hospitality industry. She hired me to facilitate a process for her team and an event that and her clients, an event that they had. And then we just clicked and started working together. And we've been, what is it, like 3 or 4 years? 3 years, right? We've been working together for 3 years. So yeah, she's another amazing human being. I'm surrounded by beautiful and amazing human beings. So thank you for being here, Angelica.
Thank you, Ro. And yes, we are here copy pasting what Vero and Amy said. I'm thrilled to be here and happy to keep expanding and transforming in this beautiful community. So thank you all for joining us. And I hope we can share much more time together. Thank you, Ro.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Angelica. All right, so here are a couple of housekeeping things. Please use the chat to ask any questions or raise your hand. You're more than welcome to participate. Everyone's on mute. Wonderful. If you want to come unmute, just raise your hand so that I know that you want to participate. If you just want to use the chat, that's also wonderful. But please do participate. And every time you hear something that resonates or makes sense, or you just want to give a shout out, please use the chat. Put it in the chat. Let's participate. Let's make sure that anything you hear, if you hear something that you like, just put it in the chat. Make it resonate. It's really important for us to interact through the means that we have, and chat is an amazing way of doing that. So please feel free to use it. Okay, so why are we here, right? And this is something that's really important. We are all in constant transformation. Like the person that woke up this morning is not the person that's right here today sharing with this amazing group. This is something that's really important for us to understand. Every day as it goes by, we learn stuff, we grow, we transform, we shift inside and outside. Right, so we are always in constant transformation. What we want to do is, hopefully, we want to use, or we want to make sure that that transformation is expansive, and that's why I call the webinar "Expand and Transform." right? Because we're always transforming. What we want to do is we want to do it intentionally, and we want to make sure that that transformation has an intention, and it helps us expand into greater well-being. So, joy and happiness. Everyone in the world is seeking joy, peace, and happiness. There's no one in the world that wakes up in the morning and says, I feel like having a bad day today, right? It's like we all truly want to be happy. We all want to feel joy. And the basis for happiness and joy is peace, right? So we want to understand that this is the root of our existence, of what we want in life. And this, what I'm going to share with you today is what I've used to create joy, peace, and happiness in my life. And that is the SER model, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I told you I was going to introduce myself. I come from the business world. I studied business. I have a master's degree in entrepreneurship and family business. I worked in multinational companies for a few years. And then I decided that I wanted to start my own business 16 years ago. Almost 17. I'm about to, that's a long time. I just realized. So almost 17 years ago, I started my own business, my own consulting business, helping family businesses. When I went into working with family businesses, one of the things that I truly found was the power of creating impact. After my first couple clients, when I saw them grow as a family and consolidate the business, I felt this deep joy that about the work that I was doing. And I recognized that I had found purpose in my life. And I use the word conscious, I use the word found consciously, because I wasn't seeking for that. No one had ever talked to me about purpose or finding purpose in life. It was just something that I came across with. And as I recognize that, I recognize the power of intentional living, choosing to live from purpose, right? And on a parallel life, I started meditating when I was 7 years old. But my mom taught me how to meditate, but she told me, it's like, you can't tell anyone that you're meditating, because if they find out that you're meditating, they'll think you're crazy, and they might take you away from me, or they might just reject you. So I was a very obedient kid, and I didn't tell anyone that I was meditating. So meditation and looking within was my secret life up until about 15 years ago. All right. So here you start seeing, if you're good at math, you start seeing that there's moments. There's this moment in my life where these two paths started crossing, finding purpose, and at the same time, coming out of the closet, of the meditation closet, right? And what was really powerful about that was that people started asking me, it's like, you work with family businesses all day long, you deal with emotional situations all day long, how do you keep yourself sane? And I had never thought about it, but I recognized that my personal practice of meditation, of centering myself, of being able to focus my mind, was a really powerful tool that I had to be able to dealing with the situations with families and businesses all day long. So I started sharing that, and that I was doing it, and people started asking me, well, can you teach us? Like, okay, I'll do it. And I started sharing my personal practice with others. And as I started doing this, I started recognizing, I came across, well, I've always been studying on the spiritual side, on the personal side. I study psychology. I did not graduate, but I have enough understanding of psychology to help me do my personal work, and now help others. And what I was able to do was, like, I came across different elements, and as I was working within myself and with others, I started putting these elements together. Purpose was number one. Interdependence was another. responsibility, unconditional responsibility for myself and what goes on within myself is another. Compassion, beginner's mind. And then I started studying about the ego and the mind and the belief system. And I started taking a lot of courses, and all these these pieces of information came together and turned into the SETA model. Right? It turned into a systematic way that I was using to keep myself healthy, to keep myself happy, and to keep myself aligned with my purpose and joy. And then again, it's like people kept asking me, "Can you share this? Can you teach us more about how you live your own life?" And eventually, in a very powerful event that I went to in Panama, I met a guy who asked me, it's like, what do you do for a living? I told him, like, I do family business consulting. And he's like, what are you doing here? Because this was a energy healing event, which was something that I did like on the side. And I never told anyone I was doing it. and he told me, it's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, this is my secret life. And so he laughs, and then I asked him, it's like, what do you do for a living? And he's like, well, I'm also in business. And I asked him, it's like, why are you here? And he's like, yeah, well, this is also my secret life. And so we both laughed and we clicked and we started talking about this. And he, at the end of the conversation, towards the end of the conversation, he asked me, it's like, have you ever thought about bringing these concepts to the business world? And I'm like, thought about it, but never actually took any action towards it. So he told me, let's do something. I want to bring these concepts to my team. And I'm like, sure. He's like, please come up with something and send it to me, and we'll work with my team. And I'm like, oh, wonderful. So he takes out his business card, puts it on the table. I take it, and he ends up being the VP for a very large multinational company. And his team is the leadership team for Latin America. And I'm like, whoa! So I have my first client. I'm bringing these concepts to the business world, and my first client ends up being a large, huge multinational company and the leadership team in that multinational company. So where I want to go with this is, what the SETA model has given me is not only the tools and the structure to be able to work on myself and keep myself healthy, sane, and in constant transformation, expansive transformation, but also it has become a way of sharing with others how to create their own well-being, their own happiness, their own joy. And I've been doing this I've been sharing for 12 years. I've been doing it full time for the last 7 years. 7 years ago, I decided to close my family business firm. People thought I went crazy, like literally, because I was fully booked. I was working 6 days a week, 3 clients a day, like 3-4 hour meetings. So this meant I was working 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, fully booked for at least about a year. And I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. And I wanted to go into this world, right, of sharing my understanding of our inner works. And I closed my business. I went over to Spain, spent a year in Spain doing a sabbatical, and then came back to Costa Rica, where I am based right now, and started doing this full time when I came back. So what I'm about to share with you is it's not a structure, it's the way I've lived for the past 12 years. What I know provides well-being, joy, happiness, peace on a personal level, and what I've been living and doing with my clients for the past 7 years. So this is more than proven. If you understand the model and you put it into practice, I can almost guarantee you will create greater joy and happiness in your life. So again, please feel free to ask any questions, to come up with yeah, share anything that comes up, and let's dive into it. So there's 3 keys to expansion and transformation. The first one is having a clear direction, right? So it's very important for us to know where we're going. I like using examples, so please bear with me because I use a ton of examples. So first one is if you want to go on a trip, right? First decision that you have to make is where do you want to go? And it's like, okay, so I want to go on a trip, but it's like if we don't know where we're going, then we don't know what to pack. Right? So if we're going to the mountain and it's going to be cold, you pack a jacket, you pack food that will provide calories. If we're going to the beach, then you pack the bathing suit, you pack an umbrella, sunscreen. Right? We have to know where we're going. One of the things that I recognized is that most of us don't really know where we're going. Right, and this was my situation when I was going into college. One of the things that happens, like I did not know what I wanted to study. I had no idea, and my dad told me, I was like, you should study this and you should study that, like because there's a lot of money in studying this. I'm like, I don't want to study something because I want to make money, right? That wasn't my point. So what I did is I studied business because I thought, or my train of thought was, if I study business, I can do whatever I want, right? If I was in between business, medicine, and law, right? So I thought it's like, well, if I study business, I can set up my own clinic, and I can hire doctors, or I can set up my own law firm and just hire lawyers, and so I'll study business. But I had no idea what I was going to do with it, right? And then I went into a multinational company to work, and after a couple of years, I was like, this makes no sense. Like I had no direction. I was just trying to scale the corporate ladder without any sense of purpose or reason, or it's like I was just trying to make more money. That was the point. That was the whole point. And it wasn't enough, right? So having a clear sense of direction is really important to create well-being, right? So one of the things that we want to start defining, it's like if we want to make 2022 an amazing year, it's like, what do you want to achieve in it? I asked you the question, a few of you answered, right? So, but it is really important for you to decide. It's like, what do you want to achieve in 2022? Right? Have a clear sense of direction. The second key to expansion and transformation is establishing the right foundations. And that is understanding what guides your day-to-day decisions. Right? And I'll share with you a structure. Like the SETA model gives you the foundations. And I'll share it with you in a bit. Right? So it's really important. Like once I came up with these foundations, I call them principles. Once I came up with the principles and I started living by those principles, my life was very easy because every decision that I make is ruled by those 5 principles. Right? So it's very simple to make decisions. Like if it's aligned with the principles, good. If it's not aligned, I don't do it. Right? And the third key to expansion and transformation is developing true alignment. And when I say true alignment, is we want to make sure that our inner world is congruent to the direction and the foundations that we've chosen. Right? If our inner world, or when our inner world is not aligned, we suffer. But guaranteed. Right? So I'll also show you the structure and the aspects that we want to align within ourselves so that we can achieve what we want. So the 3 keys: clear direction, right foundations, and true alignment. And we'll dive deep into this. Again, if you have any questions, like I have tons of information to share, but I only have like 50 more minutes. So if you have any questions, please stop me because I'll keep sharing on. So direction. What do I want? Where am I heading? Key questions, right? What do you want? Where are you heading? Without direction, we're just following the crowd. That was my experience. Like I was just trying to scale the corporate ladder. no direction. It's like I was told, point of life, make money, buy a house, create a family, right? And I was doing it. And then after a few years, I'm like, this is boring. I don't like this. So I quit the company. I thought it was a company. I quit the company, went, got my master's degree, came back, went into another multinational company. A year later, I'm like, I just remember why I quit the first multinational company. It's like, I don't like this. This is not this is not what I want, right? So that's where I started my own family, my family business consulting firm, right? And it was breaking away. My friends were like, are you crazy? It's like, you have a master's degree. You should come and work with in the multinational company where we are. It's like, I can get you a good job. Don't do this. Like, because first year was really hard. Like first couple of years, but the first year was really, really hard. What I was doing is like, I was trying to develop my business during the morning while I was actually developing. But at night, I was teaching English so I could pay the bills. Right. So I was giving English lessons at night so that I could actually pay the bills. And my friends like, are you crazy? You have a master's degree. What are you doing teaching English? And I'm like, well, I have a dream. It's like, I want to create my own business, right? My own consulting firm. And I was doing this. Then it happened again. 7 years later, I recognized that my whole point of doing, or not my whole point, but it was very strong. My drive in the family business consulting firm was creating the biggest family business consulting firm in Central America. And that's why I was working my butt off. Between 60 and 70 hours a week. I was working Sundays. I was all Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, like obviously had no partner, had no time to relax. And then I recognized that I was doing this, I was creating this firm, and one day I acknowledged that I had this thought, which was, I am going to enjoy when I retire. And immediately I was like, oh, this is not right. It's like, I can't be waiting to retire to actually enjoy life. Like, So that day I made the decision to close my family business firm. Because I wasn't going to wait to retire to enjoy life. And that's the moment where I made the decision to go into this, first applying it to myself. And that's why I took a sabbatical for a year, and then sharing it with others full time. Right? So we want to make sure that we're not following the crowd. We want to choose our own destination. We want to choose what we want. Once we choose what we want, it's really important to make sure that we use the right lens to look at ourselves in our life, right? And this lens is what I call the 5 principles in the SETA model. Right? It's what allows us true alignment towards this creating sustainable well-being. Right? So the 5 principles are very easy to apply once we understand them. And what they create is they create a virtuous cycle. Right? So it puts us in this mindset where we're actually engaging in a way where we're constantly expanding towards well-being. And these are very simple. These are the 5 principles. First one is purpose. Now, I talked about direction, right? But direction, when we choose a direction, it's like, well, I want to have my own business. Okay, that's the direction. So Dinah said, it's like, you're in the process of creating your own business. I think it was Dinah, no, there was someone else too. There were a couple of you that said you wanted to create your own business. So that's beautiful. But when we make what we're doing about creating impact, that's purpose. And you can do anything and transform it into purpose, right? You can be, I like using I like using the word or the example of being a waiter, right? Because that's something that's, as I was creating my business, like my family business consulting firm, I always thought, well, if things don't work out, I'll end up being a waiter. That's fine, right? I have no problem with it, because one of the things that I love is to interact with others. And when we interact with a sense of creating an impact, then that's when we find purpose, right? When I was working in the multinational company, it was all about making money and scaling up. I wanted the leadership role. I wanted to be promoted. I wanted to get the highest rating so that I could get a promotion or a raise. Like it had no, there was no meaning to what I was doing. I was just checking boxes. But when I started my own firm, what I recognized is like it was about transforming lives. It was about transforming businesses, family businesses that would transform lives that will create greater well-being. So that's purpose. So having any direction that you set, you can give it purpose. For example, it's like if you want your own business, whatever it is, like you sell dog treats. I'm here right here for my dog. So you sell dog treats. You can just sell dog treats, right? And make your whole life about selling dog treats. Or you can sell dog treats, healthy dog treats. Or you can sell dog treats that in a way that it becomes a means for the owner to have a healthier relationship with the dog. Right? You can give anything you do or we do, we can give a sense of purpose. And that is fundamental. Right? When I recognized the impact of what I was doing in the family business consulting realm, one of the things that I acknowledged and made the decision was, I acknowledged the impact of purpose, but I made the decision that everything I did in my life from that moment on had to create positive impact in the world. That's the decision that I made. And anything and everything I do has to create positive impact in the world. So it's in the things that I buy, in the people I interact with, in the type of work that I do, in everything. I seek to create positive impact. Right? And I try to bring that to every single action that I take during the day. Right? At the beginning, it was a little bit overwhelming, right? Because there was a ton of things that I wasn't doing right, right? But then it just became a way of being, right? A way of living life. So purpose is fundamental. Purpose is taking that direction and giving it a positive impact for others around, which is independence. It takes us into the second principle, which is interdependence. Interdependence is acknowledging that we are part of a system. We are never isolated. And this is really important because this is the way we are naturally programmed to be. We are social beings. When we're born, we depend on others taking care of us so that we can survive. If we are born and we're left on the ground, we would only be alive for a few hours and then we would die. Like other animals in the world, like they're on their feet in a few minutes, they're eating by themselves in a few hours, right? They're moving, they're protecting themselves immediately. Like turtles, right? The mother turtle comes, lays the eggs, leaves. A few weeks later, turtle comes out of the shell, comes out of the sand, finds its way to the ocean, and then it's lost until it reaches reproductive age and is able to come back to the beach. Right? We're not that way. We are interdependent. We depend on others. And acknowledging this is really important because it's what gives purpose its power. Right? Acknowledging that I am part of a society that is that takes care of me and that I can take care of is really powerful because it plays into our natural programming, right? So acknowledging interdependence is fundamental. The next one is responsibility, right? We want to assume unconditional responsibility for what goes on within ourselves, right? The way I show up, what I think, the way I act, every action and lack of action in my life, it's my responsibility. This doesn't mean like we take out a whip and we're like, oh no, I messed up, I'm responsible for this. Like, no, it's not guilt or blame. It's responsibility. It's understand that we have the ability to respond or to choose our response in the face of anything and everything that we come across with in life. Right? So assuming unconditional responsibility, what it does, it empowers us. And it empowers us to be and do whatever we want. So here, I hear someone unmuted. Can we check on that, please? So responsibility empowers us to do what? To treat ourselves with compassion and treat others with compassion. I use the word compassion. Every time I use the word compassion, I like defining compassion because compassion is sometimes misunderstood, especially if we come from a Christian or Catholic background. Compassion, the definition of compassion is the deep desire to free ourselves and others from suffering. The deep desire to free ourselves and others from suffering, right? Compassion is empathy put into action, right? So empathy is understanding what the other person's going through. Compassion is understanding what the other person's going through and wanting to do something about it. Right? So compassion, what it does is it creates healthier relationships with ourselves and those around us. It immediately creates healthier relationships because it's not about me. It's not about what I want, what I need, it's about what creates well-being. So every relationship becomes about creating well-being for ourselves and others. And this is very important. I'm including myself all the time. This is not about the other all the time. It also includes myself, but it's got to be reciprocal. It's like I have to be thinking about both of us and both parties in the relationship. So purpose gives us a sense of contribution to the system because we're interdependent. We assume responsibility for taking that into action. And we make sure that that action leads to diminishing suffering or creating well-being. And that should always be accompanied by a beginner's mindset. And a beginner's mindset means that we are always willing to learn and to go deeper into a deeper state of understanding. We always want to learn more. So if I failed, if I didn't do it right, I assume responsibility. If I raised my voice when I shouldn't have, okay? So I want to treat myself and the other with compassion. I wanted to, okay, so I made a mistake. I'm not going to whip myself, right? I'm going to apologize. And I'm going to make sure that I learn or I pay attention to what triggered me so that I don't do it again. Right? So a beginner's mindset, what it keeps us is constant learning, in constant expansion. Right? The way our mind or our brain works, it's always willing and able to create new connections. We want to be using those new connections. We want to keep ourselves learning all the time so that our neurons keep active and we keep expanding our knowledge, right? So a beginner's mindset, what it does is it closes the circle. So I have a purpose, which is creating impact to the system. I assume responsibility, take care of myself and others. And I'm always learning to expand my purpose, to benefit the system, as I assume responsibility, treating myself with compassion, and learn again on how to expand my purpose. So we are now in an expansive mindset, in a virtuous cycle, in an expansive cycle. Right? Does this make sense? Yeah. All right. Yes, Magdalena, that's a very powerful definition of compassion. Actually, a definition of compassion, that definition of compassion comes from Buddhism. Right? I've been through a lot of paths. One of them, which is very influential in me, is Buddhism. Right? But I've studied even Rastafarianism at some point many years ago. But that's the definition of compassion that comes from Buddhism. Right? So we have direction, we have the lens which we want to use to focus, and now we want to create alignment. We may know what we want, we may have the right lens, but if we don't have inner alignment, then it's just a dream. Right? It's like, yeah, I want to create this, I want to achieve this, I want to live this way. I can see life this way, but I have to change myself. I have to align myself to this so that it actually becomes a reality. Right? And that's where the 7 aspects of the model come in. Right? The 7 aspects are these. Right? I'm going to start down here and then I'm going to move back. First one is the ego. And the ego is how I see myself. Right? What do I think about myself? Right? So I am, right? When I answer the question, I am, or when I finish the phrase, I am, that's the ego speaking. I am good at this. I am bad at this. I am anxious, an anxious person. I am a very peaceful person, right? That's the ego speaking. So we want to make sure that our ego is aligned with what we want. So for example, when I told myself that I wanted to create my own family business, my own consulting firm, in this case, family business, one of the things that came up was, what do you know about consulting or having a consulting firm? Well, I have a master's degree in family business, but I've only done one consulting into family business when I did my master's degree. So it's like, okay, so all these ideas of who I am. I was 28 years old when I started. My first client was 76 years old. Her kids could have been my parent. His kids could have been my parents, right? And so this whole idea of who I am, I was actually 29 when I got him as a client. So I was 29. I was telling this 76-year-old man, stubborn man, what to do, how to handle his relationship with his kids, how to structure his business, right? This whole ego thing came up. It's like, who are you to be able to speak to this guy this way, right? To this old man this way, right? So aligning our ego with what we want is really important, right? Recognizing who we are and who we want to be is really important to be able to achieve what we want. Like for those of you who said you want your own business or you want a new job, like, do you see yourselves as an entrepreneur, as entrepreneurs? Do you see yourself in that new job? Do you see yourself being able to do that, to execute that new job, right? It's like, are you able to see yourself there, right? If you're not able to see yourself, your ego is going to sabotage your life. Right? I have to believe that I can before I can, right? And we'll talk about the belief system in a bit. But the ego is what I believe about myself. Then comes the mind. It's the story I tell myself, right? So we want to be very conscious of the stories that we tell ourselves. Oh, this is really hard. It's like, no, I can't. No, I don't have the energy. No, I'm not going to do it today. Maybe I'll start tomorrow, right? And like, people are not going to accept me, right? All the stories I tell myself are either serving me to expand or limiting me. So I want to make sure that the story I tell myself is serving what I want. Right? Then comes the intellect, which is basically the goals that we set for ourselves and the motivation that we get from those goals. Right? So the intellect is our ability to rationalize, to understand, rationalize, and make decisions. Every time we make a decision, we create a gap between where we are and where we want to be. So I understand, it's like my mouth is dry. I rationalize, it's like, oh, my mouth is dry because I've been speaking for the past hour, right? I make a decision, I want water. So now I get the motivation. Oh, where do I seek water? How do I get water? It's like, oh, I have water right here. And so I have the energy to seek water. Sorry, I was actually thirsty. So now I seek water and I satisfy my thirst. I achieve the goal. Right? So we want to make sure that what we want, that what we said we wanted, is set in those terms. Right? We understand what we want, and that goal that we set actually creates energy, because here's the catch. If I tell myself I want water, but I'm in the middle of the desert, what I actually create is probably demotivation or frustration. It's like I'm 3 days away from water. It's like I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna be able to sustain this thirst. Like this thirst is killing me. It's like, this is horrible. Why am I here? It's like, so I start telling myself stories because the goal of getting water is very far away. So if you tell yourself, I want to be an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur is like, yeah, I want to have $1 billion business. And then the story is like, well, $1 billion businesses are really hard to come by, and really hard, and they take a lot of effort. I'm never going to make it before I'm 50, and I really want to retire before I'm 50. It's like, so you're never going to start. So you want to make sure that the goals that you set actually create energy, not take energy away. Right? Because a lot of us set goals that take energy away. A year starts and people's like, yeah, this year I'm going to go to the gym every single day for the rest of the year. 365 days I'm going to go to the gym. And then you miss day 3. You're like, oh, I'm not going to make it. So now you don't go to a gym again. Like set reasonable goals for yourself. Okay? Don't set a goal that's going to actually make you lose energy. Right? So we want to make sure of that. And then comes the belief system, which is what we were taught, or the way we were taught to see the world and see ourselves. When we see ourselves, that's what we call the ego. The way we see the world is what we call the belief system. Right? The belief system, for example, when I started my business, I was told in business school and in my master's degree that any business that you start takes at least 1 year before it starts being profitable. I'm like, okay. It took my business 1 year, exactly 1 year before it became profitable. Right? At that moment, I thought it was a coincidence. I actually thought that it made sense. Like, oh, yeah, I was told this in college. I was told this in my master's degree. Right? It was going to take a year. Right? But what I recognized and what shifted my business was 3 months later. Right. 3 months later, I took a course in positive psychology, and I learned about the belief system, and I recognized that I was telling myself that my business was not going to be profitable until really profitable until I was 3 years into the business. That was what I was telling myself. And I recognized this as I was taking a course in positive psychology. And what I did is I shifted that. I'm like, no, my business is going to be profitable right now. And I tripled my income in a month. Because the business was there. I was blocking myself from seeing it. Okay? So acknowledging our belief system around what we say we want is really important, because even though I told myself I wanted my business to be like on the surface or on the on my self-talk, I told myself I wanted my business to be profitable. There was this very low and in the back of my head voice that was saying, it's like, it's not going to happen till we're 3 years in. And I acknowledged that. And the moment I acknowledged that, I shifted it to what I truly wanted, and my business shifted in a month. Okay? So we want to make sure that our belief system is aligned to what we say we want. Our belief system and our story we tell ourselves and our self-image is going to trigger emotions. If I tell myself I will never make it to the gym 365 days, doing 365 times during the year, and I miss one day, I'm going to feel frustrated. Since I feel frustrated and angry at myself, that's going to trigger my habits or my physical action. Then I don't go to the gym anymore. If I tell myself my business is not going to be profitable until I'm 3 years into the business, I'm going to feel probably frustrated, tired, confused, sad, angry, and then I don't take action towards it. The moment I started telling myself, no, it's not going to take 3 years. I want my business to be profitable right now. I found the energy, the emotion, energy in motion. I found the energy, the motivation to take action, and my business shifted. Right? So the point of all of this is we want to be aware of what's going on within ourselves, and we want to make sure that all of this is aligned to what we said we wanted. Right? If I tell myself I want to be in the best shape of my life by the end of this year, but my self-image, my ego tells me, it's like, well, I've always been chubby, and it's really hard to be in a good shape, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of work, and I don't have the discipline to do that. I'm not going to feel motivated, and I'm not going to go to the gym, period. So you may set a goal, and the goal might be beautiful, but if you're not aligned within, it's not going to happen. Right? So we want to make sure that we are aligned within. And the key to all of this is the seventh aspect. If you counted, there's 6 around. The seventh aspect is the self. And the self is consciousness. Right? And when I say consciousness, is we are able to see or recognize our ego, recognize our mind, recognize our intellect, our belief system, our emotions, our physical body. Who recognizes is consciousness. We are conscious beings. So we want to make sure that from the state of awareness or consciousness, we pay attention to all of these aspects, because all of these are changeable. We can change anything about these 6 aspects when we recognize that we are not them. This is just the way we've been programmed. This is just our habits. This is just the goals that we've set for ourselves, the stories that we're telling ourselves. These are all changeable. There's nothing set about these. Like when we acknowledge that we are not them. When I think of myself as the mind, and my mind goes crazy, I'm in deep trouble. Because my mind goes crazy. It's like, I'm crazy. It's like, no, I'm not crazy. My mind's going crazy. It's like, oh, my mind's going crazy. So how do I deal with that? What do I do? Yeah, I see you putting belief system and be aware and aligned. Yes, fundamental. The belief system is really powerful. When we understand how the mind works and how to transform our beliefs, like, it's just really powerful, the changes we can do in our life. And alignment is fundamental, right? So setting outward goals is not enough. It's like it's really important for us to bring our awareness within, acknowledge what's going on, so we align ourselves with what we want. And that's where we can truly start expanding and achieving whatever we want. we're when our inner alignment is, or our inner self is aligned to our goal outside. Am I making sense? Yeah. Okay. So this is a brief summary. Ego is self-image. The mind is a story I tell myself. The intellect is the goals I set and the motivation that I feel from them. Beliefs is what I know to be true. And when I put know between quotes, is because things are not true on their own. I've been taught to see them as true, right? So I usually use this example. It's like if I ask you, so what color is this? So just write in the chat, what color do you see here? This color. Someone write in the chat, what color do you see? Black, black. Yeah, wonderful. We all went to the same pre-kinder, right? We all had the same teacher. Because if I tell you this is negro, would you agree with me or not? Yeah. For those of you who speak Spanish, this is also negro. But if you don't speak Spanish, it's black. Right? And here's the thing, it's like it's black and not blue, not because this is truly black, it's because we were taught this is black. We all went to the same kindergarten, and the teacher came up with something like this color and said black, and we all went black. Yes, black. And if someone said blue, it's like, no, it's not blue, it's black. It's like, okay, black. So we all agreed that this is black. Right? And for those of us who speak Spanish, we all agree that this is negro. Right? And we speak both languages, and we can interchange. But if we don't, then we can't. Right? But the thing is, things are not the way they are. Like, things are not a fixed way. They are how we've been taught to see them. Right? And we can change that. Every time we learn a new language, we learn a new name for what we call black. That's it. It's a new name. Right? So in some cultures, black is associated with death and fear. And in other cultures, black is a celebration color. Right? So it's not, things are not the way we think they are. Things are not a fixed way. They are the things we think they are. Right? And we can change that. Emotions is how I feel along the way, and actions are my daily habits, right? What I do on a day-to-day basis. Check the chat. Dark gray. Oh, Brenda. Yeah, it could also be dark gray. See, those dark grays for those who went to advanced kindergarten. I just got like 7 or 8 colors. Like that's all I got. So for those of you who went to special to advanced levels, like you got more colors. So yeah, I always get one of those. Right. And the self is the awareness of who I am, right, and what I do. Oh, that's why Brenda says I didn't go to kindergarten. Yeah, so that's why. It's like you got the really advanced education. I think those of us were conditioned, right, in kindergarten. So, and I say this in like, I'm sincere about saying this. Like, most of us should we get our most learning and deepest learning outside of the classroom, right? And that's really important for us to learn outside classroom. So these are the 7 aspects. We want to be aware of them. We want to align them to what we want. And we want to recognize also that there's false beliefs that limit us. One is that living a regular life will make us happy. It's like, what do you mean? It's like living a regular life will make us happy. It's like, yeah, I was told that owning a house, having a partner, having kids, owning a car, having a stable job was basically going to guarantee happiness. And it's not a guarantee, right? It is not how we live. It is not what we like our happiness is not determined about what we have or from what we have or what we've achieved. It's the way we see life what actually guarantees happiness. And so we want to shift the way we see life. Right? If we get a house, if I buy a house because I have to buy a house, because that's a status of success, then I may end up not being happy because I have to make payments for the rest of my life. Right? If I have kids, because if I don't have kids, then I'm not a man, then like I end up having kids when I don't want them, and they actually end up creating suffering. It's not about living a standardized life. It's about choosing what we want and acknowledging what we truly want. Another false belief is the way I am is set on stone, right? A lot of people, like I hear a lot of people say, it's like, well, my grandmother was an anxious person, my mother is an anxious person, so I'm an anxious person. It's just, it runs in the family. It's like, no, it doesn't run in the family. It does run in the family, but the learning runs in the family, right? This is the way we learned how to be. And if we want, we can break the pattern. And this is really, really powerful. When we learn, we don't have to be the same way our parents were. We don't have to be we don't have to follow that that line that comes down from our ancestors. We don't have to repeat the pattern. We can break the pattern. All we have to do is become aware of the pattern so we can break it. I can choose the way I want to be. And self-awareness is hard is another thing that I usually hear. It's like, no, it is not hard. Self-awareness is consciousness is what we are. Yeah, break paradigms. Yes, Magdalena. That's so important. Break paradigms is powerful because it allows us to expand. Right? So self-awareness is not hard. We are consciousness itself. And all we need to do is recognize. So here's the thing. It's a very simple exercise. Think of a car, right? Everyone has a car in mind. Now think of a pool, like a swimming pool. Now think of a tree, right? Every time I tell you to think about something, your mind goes there. Right? Now just pay attention to where your mind goes when I say, think of a sunset. Where does your mind go? What does it visualize? Where is it? Now bring your mind back to here. Pay attention to what's in front of you. Like what we just did is you moved your mind at will. You took your mind to the car, to the swimming pool, to the tree, to the sunset. You became aware of the mind. When I described the sunset, when I told you to think about the sunset, what you did is that you started paying attention to where your mind went. Now, who's paying attention? Who's acknowledging the mind? I am acknowledging the mind. You're being aware of the mind. Like you don't have to do anything. You don't have to you don't have to like go into a 3-year isolation retreat to be able to recognize the mind. It's like you are consciousness. We are all consciousness. We can recognize the mind the instant we want to. All we have to do is train ourselves to pay attention to where the mind is, so we can bring it back. So every time the mind goes where we don't want it to go, we bring it back. That's all we have to do. It's training. It's not hard. It's training. It's like walking. Walking is hard. It's like, well, if you ask a 3-month-old kid, it's like, who is walking hard? Yes, it's really hard. Right? But once you learn how to walk, you don't think about it. Right? You walk. Right? So we are all consciousness. It's just a matter of training ourselves to recognize it. True joy, peace, and happiness is what we're all seeking. Consciously, we're choosing our life, or consciously choosing our life is a great first step that we need to take. What do you want? What do you want from this coming year? What do you want to achieve? What do you want? How do you want to live? How do you want to feel? Choose. Consciously choose what you want. Like, using the lens to look at ourselves, like make sure that what you're choosing serves a purpose, is aligned, or it's relating you, it's integrating you into the system. You assume responsibility for it. You deal with that responsibility with compassion. You're always seeking to learn and expand. Using that lens brings us to ourselves so we can create inner alignment. Am I the person who can achieve that? Yes, you are. Do you talk to yourself in a way that you can actually achieve it? No, I don't. Then change it. Do you believe you can achieve it? No, so change those beliefs. Are your actions in alignment with that? No, then change the actions. So you start creating a transformation from within, so we can actually achieve the results. And all we need to do is take it step by step by being aware of, once you set the goal here, you want to be aware of what you're telling yourself and make sure that it's in alignment to what you want. Does this make sense? Okay. So intentional expansion and transformation. Are we ready to make great things happen in 2022? Ready? Yes? Type yes in the chat if you're ready. If you're willing to. Helen, nice to see you. Nice to see a lot of yeses. Wonderful. Great. Bring it on. Yes, Natalia. All right. It's time to change your life by 1, defining purpose and use the guiding principles. Redefine your self-image, transform your story, change your beliefs, set goals that motivate you, and develop new habits. Those are the steps, very simple. You're going to get a copy of the presentation, or you're going to get a link where you can download a copy of the presentation in an email that you're going to get in a few minutes. So you'll have the presentation, but I also want to make sure that we invite you to or we want to make an invitation to help you and support you in this transformation, right? So I'm going to take the opportunity to invite you to what we're launching, a 6-week program called, again, Expand and Transform. We're going to be doing 6 live sessions, 1.5 hour content where we go deep into these concepts. I just mentioned the belief system, but in this sessions, I'm going to explain how the mind works, how to transform the beliefs, how to transform our ego or our self-image. We're going to work on finding purpose or choosing purpose. And we're going to do that in 6 sessions. We're also going to do 5 coaching calls, which smaller groups, so we can go deeper with you. We're going to create a Facebook group where we can interact. We're going to give you access to all the recordings. We're going to have presentations. We're going to have access to all the presentations. Like we want to take you deep into this transformation. And I say we is because the team that I introduced to you at the beginning, it's like they're going to be helping with the coaching sessions. They're going to be helping answer your deep questions. Like we want to use this 6 weeks to create deep and sustainable transformation in yourselves. Right? And this is the model that I've used on myself, the model that Angelica, Emily, and Veronica have used for the past few years. We know the power of it, and we want to help you use it. All of this is a huge value, right? We're going to offer a special price. We haven't launched this. They're the first ones to see this. I'm going to offer a special price of $400 for the whole program. But for you, if you want to sign up, we're going to offer you $300 for the whole program, 6 weeks, a deep, personalized program. It's a small group. We're not going to have, I told you we have 80 plus people registered for today. We're going to do this with a maximum of 25 people. So it's going to be intense. It's going to be personalized. We're going to go deep into what you want to create for yourselves. And if you sign up within the next 24 hours, it's only going to be $300. You're going to get an email with the information. The discount code, well, you can go to this link. Can you post, one of the team members, can you post a link on the chat, please? You can go to this link and you can use the code if you want to register. There's more information about when we're starting, what we're doing, who we are, what is it that we're going to do. And yeah, so you're more than invited to join us. Again, we haven't launched this. We launched it. We're going to launch it on Thursday, like to the general public. So you're the first ones to see this. I've done this before. 2 years ago, we did a program very similar to this. And this is a program, a very similar program that I use in companies. I charge way more than this to companies for delivering the program with them. So yeah, it's a beautiful opportunity. You're more than welcome to join us. Yeah, and it's just what we want to share with you. You have any questions about the content, about the program, anything you want to ask? Or oh, and we're starting on February 7th. Sorry about that. Oh. Yeah, so Alina says, thank you for the information, very motivating. Thank you, Alina, for being here. Yeah. Awesome program. Yeah, Denise was a part of one of the programs, so yeah. With pleasure. Any questions about what I shared? Anything that comes up for you? You can raise your hand or unmute yourself. All right. Okay. So, super clear. Thank you, Beatriz. So before we leave, let's share one word about what are you taking with you? Like one word about what you're taking with you. Empowerment, purpose. Thank you, Sorcia, for being part of it. Clarity, alignment, aware, mind, inner alignment is key. Yes. Motivation, alignment, positivity, direction, clarity. Thank you, Angel. Wonderful. Motivation. All right, great. All right, so purpose. Yes, purpose, so powerful. Purpose is, I truly think purpose is the key to sustainable happiness and what we need more of in the world, right? If we start embracing more living from purpose instead of goals. And when I say the difference between purpose and goals is purpose is expansive. It's like we want to make others participant of our well-being. Goals are things you want to achieve, like boxes you want to check. So the more we embrace purpose in our lives and in society, the greater well-being we're going to have. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. Yes, Monica has a question. What about compromise? I mean, you do things because you are compromised with the cause, but do I need motivation to do it? Commitment, I think you mean, Monica, comprometido. Yes, commitment. You're committed to something. But do I need motivation to do it? Well, it all depends where the commitment comes from, right? If you're committed because you truly believe that it creates well-being for yourself and others, then motivation is going to be there. But if you're committed to something because you have to, because it's what's right, even though you don't like it, then it will actually create demotivation, right? Or frustration. So it's in the way you see it, right? If you believe that your commitment comes from the understanding or a sense of expansion and well-being, it is going to bring motivation. But when we commit ourselves to something because we have to, like, I'm going to open up a can of worms, or I hope I'm not opening up a can of worms, but if you get married, you're committed to the marriage because it's like it has to work, like you're probably going to suffer a lot. But if you're committed to enjoying life through marriage, and you're committed to being happy and sharing your happiness with your partner through marriage, then it's probably going to create a lot of motivation. So for me, it all depends on where you're coming from. I hope I answered your question. Does that help, Monica? All right, wonderful. All right. Any other questions or final comments? Before we leave, I want to thank Fanny. Fanny is in the amongst the participants. Fanny has been an amazing support with putting this together. The website where you all signed up, the other website where you're gonna see more information about the program. Fanny is an amazing human being, and she's just great. So thank you, Fanny, for making this happen. We're all here because of Fanny, right? So let's give a shout out to her. Yeah, there she is. Yeah, she's an amazing, a beautiful worker, assistant, landing page creator, copywriter. So if you need any of that, Fanny's there. All right. Thank you all. It's been beautiful to see you. Have a beautiful evening. Hope you sign up. Hope to see you all in the program. Thank you, Angel, for sharing and being here. Thank you, Magdalena, everyone. Natalia, nice to see you again after all these years. So have a beautiful evening. Take care. Hope to see you again on the program. Thank you, Brenda. It's been wonderful seeing you. Yes. Right. Have a beautiful night. Ciao, Magdalena.